Hey guys, welcome to Objective 3. To start, I want to give us a do now. I want to take us back to something we did a while ago, and that is simplifying square roots. So what I'd like you to do is simplify the square root of 24. Please take a minute, pause this video, see if you can do it on your own, and then we'll come back together. Okay, so if you remember how we did this, we said, okay, what are all the factors of 24? Well, I have 1 and 24. I have 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6, 5 won't go unevenly, and I've already got 6. So remember what we're looking for is what is the biggest perfect square out of all these? Well, my biggest perfect square is this 4. So what I'm going to do is break up the square root of 24 into two smaller square roots. That when I multiply them, I get back there. So I'm going to take 4 and its friend of 6. So I'm going to put 4 here, 6 here. Remember the reason I do this is I can actually take the square root of 4, right? That gives me 2. I can't do anything to the square root of 6, so it is just hanging out. So this is the fully simplified form of the square root of 24. Okay, I'm going to bring that up because it will be important for today. Okay, so I would like to talk about a couple things. So the last couple of videos we looked at, last week we looked at how do we take the square roots to find the value of x, of a quadratic equation. Then earlier we looked at, how do we factor? Yesterday we looked at how do we find the square roots. And I told you the equation we used could be factored, but it was kind of a hassle. So I want to bring back the question I've been asking about this. What if I were to give you x squared plus 9x minus 2 equals 0? Okay, first thing you're going to do, check, make sure you're equal to 0. You are good. Okay, are there any numbers that can multiply -2 and subtract 6? No, absolutely not, right? So this is a case where this can't be factored. We definitely can't use square roots because we have this 9x term. So here's an example where we have to use that quadratic equation, which is what we talked about yesterday. So everything's going to work the same as what we did yesterday. Okay, remember, I don't see any coefficient with x. There's a 1 here. First thing I'm going to do is get my a, my b, and my c. Well, a is what's with x squared, which is 1. B is what's with x, which is 9. And c is our number. Don't forget, take your sign, a -2. Now I'm going to use my quadratic formula just like I did in the last objective. So I'm going to say, okay, this is step 1. This is step 2. So I'm going to say x equals a -b, which is 9. And again, remember, I have the quadratic formula listed on the classwork tab. So if you're not sure where I'm getting this from, look at that formula because I'm just using that formula, putting my numbers in. So -b plus or minus the square root of my b squared, and then minus 4 times my a times my c. And then that's all over 2 times my a number, which is 1. And again, this is a formula. I'm just putting those numbers in there, right? Okay, now I'm going to start simplifying. So this is step 3. First thing to do, check this negative, essentially there's a 1 here, times 9 is a -9. Keep your plus or minus, keep your root sign. 9 squared is 81, and then -4 times 1 is -4, times a -2 is a +8. Positive 8, sorry. And then 2 times 1 is 2. Keep simplifying under your square root sign. So next step, I'm going to have that -9 still hanging out, plus or minus the square root. Add these up, you get 89 over 2. Okay, unlike yesterday, this is not a perfect square. So what you need to do is, like in our do now, look and say, can this be simplified? No, there's no perfect square that's going to go into 89. If that is the case, you are done right here. Okay, please know, this sign of the plus or minus, what that means is there's 2 answers, right? So we know anytime we have that square root, we have 2 answers. So one answer is going to be that x is the -9 plus the square root of 89 over 2. And the other answer is going to be that x equals -9 minus the square root of 89 over 2. please know there's different ways you may see this written. I like to leave it as this because I don't want to write that same thing out twice, and that's what most people do. When you are doing your independent practice, things like that, they're going to split it like that, and that's just because how the program that we use likes to do it. But I will always write it like this because I don't want to write the same thing twice, right? Please note, these are equivalent. They are the exact same thing. Okay, I want to do one more with you guys. Okay, here's my next one. I have 4n squared. Oh, sorry. I'm going to need a little bit more room on this one. So I have 4n squared minus 2n minus 8 equals negative 3. So what I want to do is solve this. Okay, if I look, there's no common factor to divide everything by, right? Okay, so I need to make this side equal to 0. So let me make this equal to 0. How I do that is just do my inverse. I'm going to move 3 and put it with its like term of this negative 8. So I'm going to get 4n squared minus 2n minus 5 equals 0. Okay, again, you cannot use quadratic formula or even factoring until you're equal to 0. Okay, so let me get my A, B, and C. So my A is going to be this 4. My B is going to be this negative 2. Do not forget your signs. My C is this negative 5. Okay, now I'm going to use quadratic formula. So I'm going to say, what are my x's equal? Well, it's a negative b, a negative 2, plus or minus the square root of my b squared, minus 4 times my a, times my c. Again, do not forget your signs, otherwise bad things are going to happen. And then again, that's all over 2 times my a number. Okay, just like normal, let's simplify. So I'm going to get x is going to equal, go ahead and draw my fraction bar. A negative times a negative is going to be a positive 2, plus or minus, let me start simplifying underneath here. So negative 2 squared is a positive 4. Please do not forget that. Okay, so I'm going to kind of like expedite this because we can do this in our calculator. Negative 4 times 4 is a negative 16. Negative 16 times 5 is a positive 80. And then 2 times 4 is 8. Okay, so keep working like normal under your root sign. So x is going to equal 2 plus or minus 4 plus 80 is 84. And that's over 8. Okay, so take a minute, make sure you're good with all this, because rather than working over here, I think I'm going to erase and just move this up to the top so we can keep working with it. So please take a minute to make sure you've got all this, and then I'm going to move this step up to the top so we can keep working. Okay. Okay, so here we go. So I moved that up to the top so we have a little bit more room to work. So here's the deal. I look at this, it is not a perfect square. But just like in Arduino, I'm going to say, are there any numbers that I can put into, or any perfect squares I can pull out of 84? I'm going to tell you yes. How I can break up the square root of 84 is into the square root of 4 times the square root of 21. I worked this out, but you know how this process goes, right? So remember the point is I can take the square root of 4 and get 2, leave the 21 alone because I can't do anything to that. Well, what I'm going to do is take this and replace it in here. So instead of writing the square root of 84, I'm going to write the simplified form of 2 root 21. So I'm just going to rewrite everything else of x equals 2 plus or minus, but instead of writing the square root of 84, I'm going to put its simplified form in here. And then still keep over 8. Okay, here's the reason I do this and why we did this before. Because once I get here, I can look and say, can I simplify this further? So the deal is, I cannot mess with anything with the root sign. You cannot mess with that. look at the three things that are outside. This, this, and this. And you're going to say, is there any way to reduce 2, 2, and 8? Yeah, I can divide all of them by 2. So what I'm going to do is reduce and divide all of them by 2. So great, x equals 2 divided by 2 is 1. Okay, keep your plus or minus. 2 divided by 2 is 1. Keep your square root of 21. And then on bottom, 8 divided by 2 is 4. Okay, here's a couple things I need you to know. There's nothing more I can do here. I can leave it like this. I can split it apart, whatever. This is really important, though. If this front number is 1, you have to keep it, because we have to know it's here. However, if the 1 is in front of this root sign, we don't really need it, because it's saying 1 times the square root of 21, which is still the square root of 21. So what I really need you to know is when you're simplifying, if this front number turns out to be 1, you have to keep it. However, if this is 1, you don't necessarily really need to keep it, because we know 1 times 21 is still the square root of 21. And this is what your final answer is going to look like. Again, this is how I would leave it, but again, sometimes it gets broken apart. So it might look like x equals 1 plus the square root of 21 over 4. And then also 1 minus the square root of 21 over 4. Again, personally, I would leave it like this because I don't want to write twice. But like I said, in your independent practice and your exit ticket, they like to break it apart. So it's going to look like this. Actually, it's going to look like this. So just heads up, wanted to let you know the different ways you may see this. Okay, I hope that helps. If not, please join my office hours. Love you guys. Bye-bye.